You are just in time, and let's wait for anybody else who joins. I think Arup may join today,
Okay.
and there is one more person who is expected. We went through today's video. Are you
The
familiar with these concepts?
no.
Okay. I will explain it. Before that, I will take you through something else.
Okay.
So, what are you doing now?
I'm just preparing for the upcoming entrance exams, and I am
Which
also
entrance exam you are appearing?
uh, I appeared for Kalinga Institute,
Okay.
um, and I have an exam on 17th of Manipal Academy of Higher Education. Then
Okay.
then I have IEM on
Manipal Academy of Education. Which course are you applying for?
uh,
Mahe?
uh, i- i- Manipal. Yeah, but the course will be told after we will give the exam on the counseling. So there is phase
Oh.
1 and phase 2. So after that, in June, the counseling will be held.
But what are the courses? Are you going for science or engineering?
Engineering.
Oh, generally, Manipal Academy of Engineering, you are saying, no?
Hmm.
What is
Yes.
Manipal Academy of Engineering? This branch or higher
Higher education.
education? Higher education. So Manipal, that means Mahe. Mahe is normally this engineering branch is MIT, Manipal Institute
Em-
of
eh,
Technology.
for the MIT, I have applied on CUET. I'm giving CUET, so there I have given it as preference. MIT Jaipur.
Oh, acha, acha. No, MIT is there in Mangalore, I mean the Manipal also.
Yes, but the option in the CUET exam, there was no option for that. Only Jaipur was available.
CUET is for Central University, isn't it?
Yes, yes, but there were undergraduate.
Okay. Manipal is coming under that. Manipal Jaipur is
Hmm.
coming under that. I didn't know this. Anyway, let's see how
Hmm.
you do. So let us start because you are the candidate person who is supposed. The other persons are not the learners. Um, Arup is already familiar with these languages. So let's come to the screen sharing. Today, I would like to tell you about some special things. Like, first of all, I am not sure whether you have already done some work on this thing, no? Python. So, are you familiar with this shell, navigator shell,
Yes,
anaconda shell?
yes. Last day you told us.
Yeah. So, anaconda has two ways to work with. I mean, if you want to work on Python, you can do it in two modes. One is in programming mode, and there's another way which is normally interactive. So let me explain you how interactive mode works. I think I have already explained it once, but I will like to explain it once again. You have to first write Python, and then you can keep on working on things. You can create variables like this, x equal to 10, y equal to 20. Then you can say z is equal to x plus y. These commands are being taken. These commands are being silently, it is silently executing these commands. So it is working as an interpreter. Now, if you want to see what has gone into Z, then in that case, there are two ways. One is Z, you just see 30 you are getting, or you can say print Z. This will also give the same result. Okay. If you want to see what is there in X, you can say X or print X.
Mhm.
These are the fundamental, very fundamental part of it. And if you want to know what is the type of a particular variable, in that case, you are going to say type X. It will give you int, class int. Okay.
What is class int means?
Class int means in Python, everything is a class. I will
Okay.
explain you what is a class. Okay. And this is a fundamental way to work with Python. The very, very fundamental way that you can work interactive. You can simply say x is greater than 10. False. It is not greater than 10. You can ask again, x is equal to 10. Sorry, x is equal to 10. These two are different things. X is equal to 10 means you are assigning 10 to x. And when you are saying x is equal to 10, then it is going to say whether it is true or false. Okay. X is equal to 10 means you are trying to compare the value stored in x with the value 10. If they are found to be equal, then it is saying true because you have asked that question, right?
Hmm.
So that is it. And if you want to come out from here, then you are going to say exit.
Okay.
This probably I have already explained. See. So this is now you can close it and then we can check another way to work. There are two ways. First of all, you can launch the Anaconda navigator from your machine. If your Anaconda is installed, have you installed Anaconda?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So you will get a screen somewhat like the way it is going to be displayed, and then we'll work. I will explain how to work with Jupyter node, right? That's the way normally we prefer. We
Okay.
normally work in interactive mode, but in a notebook, because you can save your work in that case. Otherwise, it is difficult to save. And there are few advantages you get. which you otherwise don't get, right?
No.
Just let me check. I hope I have, it is recording. Okay. So I'm launching Jupyter Notebook. This is a Jupyter Notebook. Okay.
Hmm.
It takes a while to launch the notebook on a browser.
Hmm.
I did not rather the Jupyter. Yeah, this is called. Now, initially you will be placed on the root. Now you have to, how can you find where you are, I mean, where this particular folder is there. So for that, I, it is normally, if you check, you will find it under C drive. It is under, it is under C drive. Then under that, you have to come to users and then come to the specific username where you are
Okay.
logging. Now this is the place where I have, you see
Hmm.
this data science module 1, module 2, they all are there. Whatever directory and subdirectories you are seeing here, all these are appearing in that particular directory. Now, how to operate on this Jupyter node? So you can first create a folder. You will say, first go to new and then say folder. The folder has been created. How do you know that? You come down and you see this untitled folder, right? You check that and come here and rename it. Suppose I will name this folder with your name, Deep Pro. So a folder has been created and here is this folder, Deep Pro. Now I have gone into the folder. Now it is showing that it is under root and then Deep Pro. So you are in the Deep Pro folder. Here you can create your notebooks. Like suppose to create a notebook, you will say Python, you will select Python 3 from here. And it will open the door. So this is a workplace. This is the workplace you are going to start. I can now this particular cell, this is known as cell. Okay. Where you can write your code or you can write your markdown. I will choose markdown. But there is a shortcut key. Just press M. M. You see, Now it has changed into markdown mode. You can say Wipro's first node. Okay. Now I am from here, if you press 1, it becomes big. And once you press run here, then it becomes a regular heading. Thereafter, you can start working on your program. You can write my first program. My first program. Now it is in code, it is in coding mode. So you have to change it to markup M and then say this, you can say, suppose say 3. So you say see 3 asterisk mark, and this is a smaller heading. And thereafter you can start coding. Suppose the same program, let me write x is equal to 10, y is equal to 20, and z is equal to x plus y, and thereafter from in the next cell, how can you go to the next cell? You say B. That means below. B means below. B. Okay. So if you press A, the cell will be created above it. That means A is for above, B is for below. Now you can say print Z. You could have written it in the same program, same set of instruction, and then you can press enter or run. It is not saying it is not giving the result. Why it is not giving the result? Because you have not executed this part. So if I execute this part and then come here, it will give the result. So you have to, your cells are dependent. You may create your commands or the instructions you can put in the next cell. In that case, you have to ensure that the above cell has been executed. Otherwise, the next cell may not work. If I instead say j is equal to x plus y, and if I say j here, should it work? No. Why it should not work? Because I have not executed this. If I execute this and then run this, it should give the result. If I make changes here, 30, now the result should be 40. But if I execute this separately, it will again give 30. It will again give 30. Because I have not executed this. Now execute this and then come to this, execute again. It will become 40. Fine? Okay. This is a very preliminary way of, you can say I am just making you familiar with notebook related activities. There are many other things, But for the time being, let me explain up to here. Now let us go back to the video which I have created.
The procedural approach and object-oriented programming, OOP, are two different paradigms for writing computer programs. Here's a brief comparison. Procedural programming. It focuses on procedures or functions that operate on data. Programs are structured around functions, where each function represents a specific task. Data and procedures are separate, and functions can act on global data. Emphasizes top-down design, where the problem is divided into smaller tasks and each task is implemented as a function. This approach is employed by languages like C and Pascal.
Now, this is about the procedural way of executing programs. It's very important to understand the difference between the object-oriented and procedural way. Now, let me inform you first that Python is both. Python is a hybrid kind of language, which can work on a procedural way and also in a object-oriented. It supports object-oriented programming or approach, programming approach. Why it is so? That is because I will show you how it works. Like, I create another program at this. Suppose I am going to create, what is this? What is this? This way of executing program. This is a sequential. That means I am putting the instruction sequentially and it is executing from the top to bottom, right? One after another. X, Y, Z, this instruction, then I have come to the next instruction. This is how it is. This is a sequential way of executing programs. Now I will show you how procedural way of working actually, what does it mean? Now procedural means you are actually going to create some methods or functions. So in Python, if you have to create method, you have to use def. Def say add x comma y, and then you say this, a colon. Then when you come down, when you press an enter, you will see that it has indented, that the cursor has already gone to its right. Now I am going to write here, return x plus y. Okay. And then I will come to the next. There's another function. I'm saying sum. Here also I take x comma y. Then I say return x minus y. Okay. Make it consistent. Done. Then I say this one. Print add 10, 5 plus sub ten, 5. So what is going to happen if I run this? Now it is going to say syntax error. So why it is going to say syntax error? Cell 9 line 2 invalid syntax. Return, the spelling is wrong. So I have to change that. And if I run this once again, I get something like this. Why it is so? Add 10 plus 5. 10 comma 5 means here addition is taking place. It is 15. And then plus subtract 10 comma 5 is going to give 5. And they, if they are added, you get a 20. Right? Now what is happening? This is a procedure, this is a procedure, and this is an instruction. So I have broken this entire thing, adding and subtraction. They are two different functions. I have created those functions and I am calling those functions. So this is a procedural way of, this is a procedural way, right? Got your point? So this is sequential way of working. This is a procedural way. Got me? Are you clear about it?
Yes.
This is why it is known as procedure. So C and Pascal, these were purely procedural. If you learn basic language, programming language, that's also a procedural way of working, or sequential. It uses a sequential way of operation. Now there is another way which is known as object-oriented. So
Object-oriented programming, OOP, focuses on objects that contain both data and methods, functions. Programs are structured around objects, which represent real-world entities or abstract concepts. Encapsulation. Objects encapsulate data and methods, allowing data hiding and providing a clear interface for interaction. Inheritance. Objects can inherit attributes and methods from other objects, allowing code reuse and promoting hierarchical classification. Polymorphism. Objects can take multiple forms or respond differently to the same message based on their specific type. Emphasizes bottom-up design, where classes are designed to represent real-world entities and objects are instances of these classes. Examples include languages like Java, C++, and Python. Key differences regarding data and functions.
now let us come to the terms class and object first. It's a bit theoretical, although if you don't understand, it doesn't matter at this moment of time. We'll first learn programming, then we'll come to object-oriented way of writing programs. But just I'm giving you some idea about what is exactly object, what object and classes mean. Okay, let me explain you here. Now, first, let's understand what is object. What is an object? Object is anything around you, anything that is around you. You can call it as an object. So I can write anything about which I am interested. Okay. Anything around which I am interested. So let us take something which is around me and try to understand this particular term. So I can take some examples like books, then dog, student. We can call them objects. We can call them objects. Why they are objects? Because they have some information about which I am interested. So let's take the case of a book. What information is there about the book? We can say the book has a title. The book is written by some author. And it has got a publisher also. So these are the information I can say that about the book. Now let us take the case of a dog. Dog. Here I can say dog has a name. It has a breed. And it has an age. It may be a color also. So these are the information which I am interested. If I go for suppose I want to select a dog for myself to keep a pet. Okay, so I may be interested to give a name. I will like to know what breed he is, his age, maybe a puppy, and then the color. It's maybe a black color or white color or maybe gray, brown color, whatever. Okay. Similarly, student. If I consider a student, student again has a name, has an address, maybe a telephone number. These are the information about he is attached to a particular school and studied in a particular class standard. So these may be the information about that particular student. Now we get two terminologies. One is object and second is class. So why do we use class and object as a separate terminology? Because when we talk about a book, we are definitely knowing that book has certain number of information. Dog has certain number of information and student has certain number of information, but we do not know exactly what information is there for them because it is just a generic term. When we say about a book, we don't say that book has a name. When do we call that book as a name? Because when particularly if we know what book I am talking about, right? If I take a physical book, or say if I pick up a book, then I know that this book has a name, something like that, Harry Potter or something like that. I mean, sorry, give a name to the anything. Suppose Immortals of Melbourne. That's a book, name of the book. The author is Amish Tripathi, and the publisher is something. Specific publisher name is attached. Okay, so when we when particularly we say that I am talking about this particular book, this specific book, then I am talking about an object. Okay, real world object. That means it must be something tangible, physical, or which you can touch, or at least which you can feel, which you know that it has a separate and specific existence. Okay, then it becomes an object. When it is a book, simply book, which is a generic term, or a dog, which is again a generic term, it becomes a class. Okay. So when we define a class, how do we define? Let me show you an example. In specifically when we if I'm going here, let me take you to another folder to show an example of a class, a basic the last chapter, last section. You can see how a class has been built. This is how you define a class. Okay. So first, you say class dog, and then animal dog or something like that. You may not keep it. And then you define the constructor. Then you define this is the information that is a dog, animal, or these are the information, name, breed, and so and so. And these are the various methods attached to a class. Methods. We'll come to this particular term at a later stage, but just to explain you what it means, I have come to. When we say here, I'm saying, again, if we come here, if I come here, object-oriented,
Focuses on objects that contain both data and methods, function.
now here I'm saying, look at this, section 7, here. When I am defining a class, I am defining data here, name and breed, and these are the methods. Methods means function. Okay. So I am defining various functions attached. Don't worry about if you don't understand the instructions, it doesn't matter. Just I am trying to explain you in broader term what it means actually. Okay, so bark is something which a dog can do, isn't it? Dog can walk, bark, dog can do something else. Okay. Now I want to print or here I'm talking about the dog barking. Okay, so I'm taking it as a method. Forget about this. Okay, don't look at this. I have added for a reason. Later I will explain. Just see up to here. I have a set of information attached to this dog, name and breed, and I am saying that the dog is wild. Okay, so now I am saying here, if you come there, in the object, what I am seeing, the data 1, data 2, and the method 1, method 2, all the methods are there. So a class defines an object. A class defines an object, what it contains. But it doesn't say what exactly it is. Like until I say that dog has a specific ear, if you come here, you come to the next instruction, I'm saying dog, sorry, no, here, dog 1, dog Buddy, and golden retriever. That means I am saying, giving a name to this particular dog, Buddy, and I am saying the breed is golden retriever. Now I am creating a specific dog, dog 1. Okay. Similarly, I am creating another object called dog 2, which is the name of which is Rex and German Shepherd. It is a breed German Shepherd. So I am actually talking about specific dogs here. When I am talking about objects, I am actually talking about specific dogs. Okay. Now if I come here, this makes the entire thing. So it is comprised of data and methods. Methods like barking, walking, sleeping. These are the methods. And here it is a name, say breed, age, then something else. Okay. Like.
Programs are structured around objects.
So when we talk about object-oriented programming, then the programs we write, they are referring to these objects or the classes. Okay, I am creating objects from the classes and then I am writing the programs. The programs will contain all these. But the program which you wrote, this one, or I wrote earlier, this doesn't contain any class definition. This is a procedural way of programming. And this is a object-oriented way of programming. I'm first defining the class, then creating objects, and then I'm doing something with them, right? So that is why I earlier told that Python is a mixed kind of thing. It's a procedural, you can write it in a procedural, you can take a procedural approach here, you can take a object-oriented approach here. So both can be used. That is why it is known as a hybrid kind of language. Right. So let's come to the later things.
Which represent real-world entities or abstract concepts.
Now listen to this. Encapsulation. Why we call it as an encapsulation? Because a class is a capsule. Assume that the class is the capsule and methods and variables or the data and methods are stored inside. They are all stored inside. Look at this picture once again. If I take you to the previous picture once again.
Focuses on objects that contain both data and methods, functions.
Here, object contains both data and method, and they are encapsulated in one particular unit. They are taken as one single unit. Okay, which I am saying as dog. In this case, I am saying it is a dog, which contains these data and this method, right? So the entire thing is known as a dog, the class. So that is why I am saying it is encapsulated, right?
Programs are structured around objects, which represent real-world entities or abstract concepts. Encapsulation. Objects encapsulate data and methods, allowing data hiding and providing a clear interface for interaction.
We'll talk about data hiding later. Just a minute. Somebody has come. Let me. Okay. এক মিনিট হ্যাঁ একটু একটু দাঁড়াও। Now we'll talk about this inheritance and other things later.
Inheritance. Objects can inherit attributes and methods from other objects, allowing code reuse and promoting hierarchical classification. Polymorph.
Now polymorphism, object inheritance, all these things, they are advanced matters. We'll discuss about all these things later because at this moment of time, if I try to explain you all these things, you may get confused. Okay, so we'll come to that later. Initially, you must just remember that object-oriented objects contain data and methods. That's all.
Morphism. Objects can take multiple forms or respond differently to the same message based on their specific type. Emphasizes bottom-up design, where classes are designed to represent real-world entities and objects.
When we take an object-oriented method, we first create the objects and then create the programs which are referring to it. So it is a bottom-up kind of. When we work on a procedural way of working, what we always take a bigger task and then break it up into smaller tasks. So it is a it is a top-down design. So procedural is always a top-down design, and then object-oriented way is always a bottom-up approach. That means if you want to think about your own house, probably you will first think how many rooms are there, how many furnitures are there, how many books are there, how many almirahs are there. That way you will like to think. So you will first count the objects. Which are the objects which are available in that particular building. Then you can go towards what is relating them to something as an integrated unit. Okay, so
Objects are instances of these classes. Examples include languages like Java, C++, and Python.
here Python has been categorized as an object-oriented programming language because it supports object-oriented way of programming.
Key differences regarding data and functions. In the procedural approach, data and functions are separate entities. In object-oriented approach, data and functions are encapsulated within objects. Other differences. Procedural approach emphasizes on procedures or functions, whereas in object-oriented approach, we emphasize on objects, which encapsulate data and behavior. Both approaches have their advantages and are suitable for different types of problems. Procedural programming is often simpler and more straightforward for smaller programs or tasks, while OOP excels in larger, more complex systems where modularity, code reuse, and scalability are essential.
Now, what is being said here is that when we take an object-oriented approach, we deal with a complex problem, whereas when we take a procedural way of working, then we often deal with a less complex thing. Although we have written very, very complex program with procedural approach also, because there was no object-oriented approach at that point of time. I am talking about my earlier days. We didn't we used to work on languages like COBOL, C, and other things. They were all procedural programs, procedural way of working. And we used to write big systems using those programming languages. So both can be used for both the reasons, but Probably object-oriented approach is a better way of dealing. And it can really handle very, very complex situation. Okay. So we'll learn both of the ways to work. Okay. In this particular. So any questions so far?
No, so far so.
You have understood, no?
Yes.
Okay, so I am not. This is what was the agenda today. I am not going to discuss more of it because this is what the next day onwards will actually get into the nitty-gritty of the programming language. Okay, this was just an introduction. And I wanted to show you what are the ways to programs and writing programs using such languages like Python. Java is also similar language which supports object-oriented. It's a pure object-oriented language. It's not a hybrid language. If you use Java, you have to create classes whether you want it or not. Whether it is useful or not useful, you need to start your program first defining a class. Okay. Whereas this is not needed in case of a Python. In case of Python, Python is a much simpler and easier language to learn. Okay. That's it. So I hope you have enjoyed this session.
Yes.
And you are learning from a guide this time. So whatever your doubts were there at that point of time, you can get them clarified in these sessions. You can ask questions if you want. And I will advise when you come next day, you can ask questions regarding this particular session. Okay. Because there is only you and me for the time being, only you and me, it is like an individual session I'm happening, right?
Yes.
I'm not going to take it as a batch. When there will be more people, then we'll say that it is a batch kind of thing. But you can involve, if you want, you can tell your friends that this kind of classes are being taken. If they feel that it is interesting and it is useful to join them, and because the price is also very reasonable, they may take interest in joining. And you will have some friends to interact with them, right? So you can do that.
Okay.
There is no time limit to join or get out from this particular program. If you want to stop in between, if you want to leave, you can leave. You are free to leave. You can join anytime. Okay. The previous discussions are already there in the available in the YouTube. I will give them the list of such things. All previous sessions. They can go through them. If they want to ask questions, I will definitely answer. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay then. Good night.
Good night.